Welcome everybody to another day of the LCK Summer Promotion matches. I'm Valdez, with me is Papa Smithy. We're going to be jumping straight into the losers match to decide which one of these four teams is going to have to go back to Challengers, which is where they came from.
And it is, of course, a sexy title, the losers match. But there's going to be a biggest loser and just a real loser at the end of this one. Only one team can stay in contention for LCK Summer 2019, the other one back to Challengers. So there's a lot on the line, one best of five. And another title you could use, given the two teams we have, is the Challengers final. Because at the end of the day, the ES Sharks finished first in the regular season. They auto-qualify for this tournament. Yes, there was another tournament for the second spot. There was one with a reverse sweep by VSG. But now we actually get ES Sharks versus VSG. Only one can continue, but no guarantee that either of these teams will beat JinAir when they play them on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, we already saw ES Sharks going up against JinAir, and I know a lot of people that I was talking to were expecting the ES Sharks to do quite well, but they got destroyed. 0-2. One of their best players, Jisu, had a pretty terrible day, and the rest of them were not able to carry him on that day, and JinAir actually looked good on the day. So, as you mentioned, it's you got to get through this first just to have a chance of maybe making it into LCK. It's two best of five for that team that does win tonight, but it's not going to be an easy road.
Amusingly, I was looking at the crowd shot. There's no one behind us. Understandably, given that it is two Challengers teams and there's not a lot of people who go down to the FLICKR studio to watch the live broadcast there, you know, there's not that many people here. Friday night, people have found a better ticket. Looking around, there's about, I don't know, 100, 150 people here for VSG versus the ES Sharks. I'm sure more people will come through over time. Don't give me that look, Valdez. I'm doing rough counting here. But
rounding up, I see.
I didn't check I imagine tickets are available. I'm not 100% sure. So if you are in Seoul and want to come to Lowell Park and check out all the lovely accoutrements to this particular game. That's French, by the way. I'm a linguist, by the way.
How do you know French, though? You're from Australia, right?
Parce que école, j'étudiais français depuis 5 ans.
All right. Okay. Je m'appelle Brendan.
Oh, bonjour, Brendan. Je m'appelle Tristan.
Bonjour. Oui, oui, oui.
Oui,
okay.
oui.
Yeah.
And
this is going to be a fun day.
Who knows what to expect in this one, because I came away not really thinking much of VSG or ES Sharks. VSG famously had the 10-man roster where they just throw out randomly lots of different players and different configurations. We don't even know for sure it's going to be one of the two teams that we saw play over the course of the previous series. And the ES Sharks played nothing like the Challengers team that I looked at and said, okay, they're not revolutionizing the wheel, but they look pretty good. We didn't see that team, and is it stage nerves? Well, you would hope now, second time out, things will be a little bit more capable. And also, I must admit that even though this is the most recent split, because VSG started the season really with no idea of what roster they wanted to play, and by the end, they weren't playing either of the rosters we'll see today, even history just tells us there's not much between VSG and ES Sharks. The only informed prediction I can make, probably not going to be 3 games.
You don't see the trend that we have going here? Round 1, ES Sharks were the winners, and then round 2, VSG were the winners. So obviously, if you follow the pattern, ES Sharks should be able to take the first 2 games. If I had a graph, maybe I could explain a little bit better. But that's how I like to use the stats here. Ruby versus Kuzan. Taking a look at some of these mid laners. Kuzan looking pretty decent, but, you know, kind of a hard road so far.
I mean, Kuzan at the end of the day was, to me, the best performing player in Challengers' career, especially on average. I think Mickey had higher peaks, but Kuzan, I'm talking all roles, was the best performing player. He loves the Corki, which is one I'm sure he will visit if it's available. Ruby, a great Kaiser Chiefs song, also a very good performing mid laner for the side of VSG. So he's definitely the one that they're going to prefer to use, at least for game number 1. He's been in better form recently. We're going to introduce both teams here and confirm the lineups, because I think that's really important. VSG actually have a lot of different pieces, and how they put them together can be very, very interesting. But throwing up those lineups, that's what we need to do. And here we go, the lineups for VSG and ES Sharks.
Hey, take a look at them here. As you do see, VSG will be coming out on the left side, you might not know all the faces, but it is going to be SoaR, Ryan, Ruby, Veritas, and Pure making their way out onto the scene here. Excited to see if they can pull off another, I'm sure a lot of people would expect them, if they do win, for that to be an upset, as ES Sharks were the favorites coming in from the two challenger teams getting first in that league. But I feel like anything can happen when it does come down to a best of 5, and already these two teams have showed that they've been having some trouble here on the LCK stage.
And remember, Valdez, you and I loved casting GC Busan during the Kesper Cup, and that roster is being mixed and matched with another roster to make the VSG lineup. So SoaR and Ryan will both be starting today. I imagine we'll be slipping between Ryan and Rian. He prefers to be called Rian. He spelled his name R-Y-A-N. It's
so
Ryan.
We're going to call him Ryan.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the name he selected. You can always call me Breen Dan if you want, but I'm not going to tell you to. But that's basically what he's saying, as they are going to be walking onto the stage now, the ES Sharks, #1 in Challengers. And I think it's also interesting to talk about how 2 splits in a row, you had teams like Griffin come up and Damwon and Sandbox come up. And then now we make it to the next promotion tournament, and both of the Challengers teams finally down here in the losers match. Maybe not quite the change coming up from Challengers that we've had in the last couple of splits.
And honestly, Brenda N., I agree that I don't think that we can keep up the pace of 3 teams being promoted out of the last 4, all of those teams playing playoffs every split they played. Like, that's insane to have Griffin going playoffs, and then, of course, Sandbox Gaming and Damwon Gaming both making playoffs this split. I don't think we have that level, but when I watched ES Sharks, as I said on cast last time before they started losing, I was like, this looks like a 6-9 team in the LCK, like a fine team that probably doesn't have the players in order to make it to top 5. Now, of course, they were just abjectly poor against Jin-Air. Does that say something about just stepping onto the Lowell Park stage and finding some different settings, no longer being in the FLICKR studio? Or is that just a bigger point? Is the level just too much higher for the LCK teams? Previously, that was the case in previous years. Recently, we've been seduced by these amazing performances of promoted teams. All we can say is Challengers Final, a best of 5. I hope one team walks away winning the series rather than 2 teams kind of bumbling and it just going to the team that slightly overperforms on the day.
It'll be a little bit disappointing for sure, because then going up against Jin-Air in the final match that will be on Sunday, you would have to favor Jin-Air going into that one, and maybe we wouldn't have the change coming up from Challengers. But we are ready to jump into Game 1 pick ban. ES Sharks on blue, Kalista going to be going away so far.
An old Veritas special. I have cast Veritas on many different teams ever since his Oceanic days in 2014. Great Kalista Lucian player are the 2 champions I most remember him for. The Kalista's going to be banned away. Let's see where the changes are in terms of draft ethos. ES Sharks came into the tournament being solo lane focused, and then in the tournament played largely around light on hyper carries. So we'll see if that's a trend they continue today. Spoilers, I would prefer them to show us some Kuzan and Jisu carries. Specifically, Jisu's Kled is a really famous one for him. Meanwhile, for VSG, I think Ryan is usually the reason they win or lose. He's a fantastic jungler when he gets a good start. His aggressive games, you'll remember in the Kesper Cup, were awesome to watch. So would love to see him on aggression. And if he wants Rek'Sai or something more spicy, only Olaf, the champion that really propelled VSG to that reverse sweep over APK Prince. That is the only Ryan jungler banned on blue side.
The Jarvan pick has been slowly going up and up. There's that Rek'Sai you were talking about, but Jarvan being first pick nowadays, at least in this best of 5, kind of interesting to see how he has climbed the ladder so far. Lucian still up towards the top of that ladder.
And this is an awesome flex pick because it is a Veritas special, as we discussed before, but also Kuzan loves himself a Corki, and Lucian is the best lane counter to Corki that's in the meta. Kassadin is also a decent one, but of course has his own laning issues. Lucian is pretty triumphant in the matchup, and Kuzan himself played Ignite Lucian against Corki in Challengers Korea in that match against APK Prince. So because of that, we are not going to be seeing the Corki priority be as straightforward. And ES Sharks When you see a Lucian, you want lane strength. They take probably the strongest laning duo you can. In this particular case, Varus, Tahm Kench, it's safe, it's flexible. ES Sharks will not be playing around a bot lane hyper carry, but Varus can do his thing.
I've been liking the Varus that has been coming around nowadays as another pick comes in that could potentially be flex, but not too often. The Morgana going to be the follow-up here for VSG.
See where that one is going. Could be the mid Glacial Augment, could be in the bot lane as well. Tahm Kench, of course, opens up a lot of potential opponents in the bot lane, but Morgana, you know, has that great answer to engage supports. Tahm Kench not an engage support, so at the end of the day, I'm thinking that it seems more likely it'll be mid lane, but we'll wait and see. It could also be decided much later when they see the enemy lineup. Taliyah going to be banned away against ES Sharks, so a bit of an intriguing one, given the bot lane is already gone. It means largely a mid lane ban, you would think. The jungle pick of Jarvan is already locked in, so we did see great games from BDD on that Taliyah as recently as yesterday, just banning away kind of power blind picks. ES Sharks, given that we think they're going to pick both solo laners, are probably going to want to take a note from teams that love to blind pick both their solo lanes. I think of Jisu Esports around the world. I think of other great teams in Korea. On the blue side, if you can get two flexible lane assignments, it really does start to take away from the overall power of last pick. But we're just going for a straight-up Vladimir for power here. How will ES Sharks respond?
Yeah, and it is important to mention that, again, this still could be flex, so VSG still trying to play some mind games. Of course, could just be that power pick into one of the solo lanes, but could also go into the bot and then have Lucian get unlocked into either mid or top. So ES Sharks, a lot to think about and write down on the paper before they go on to some picks, as Nico is going to be locked in already.
So Nico top has a pressure matchup and pushes in Vlad all the time. Will they pick two laners that beat Vlad and then just rotate around it? The Nico will be top almost certainly. Can also actually do a number on mid lane Morgana and just poke away the Black Shield from range with the Q-Max AP build. But I actually really like the Nico given the champions that are hovered here. And Kuzan's going to be on Malzahar duty. That is a pick he's played from time to time. But I think of him mostly as a Lissandra Vlad player. His LeBlanc also very famous. The Malzahar also makes a lot of picks accountable, but into Vlad Morgana doesn't leap off the page as a normal choice for the early game. In the late game, you can poke away the Black Shield quite easy with just the Q. But the Morgana pick here, it's more lockdown for Varus, Jarvan, the Malzahar.
Yeah, we are going to have the Ornn as the final pick. That should almost definitely be going up to the top side. So will it be that Vladimir into the mid lane? Looks likely so far, as I do kind of like that Malzahar when you think about it. They do have a nice amount of burst just with the Varus, the Jarvan as well. If you can lock down anyone, even a Vladimir who's not going to want to go into QSS, you catch him and no Black Shield is available, maybe you just blow him up before he does his crazy team fighting abilities.
And even though it's a 5-man roster we've never seen, ES Sharks comp does a lot of things. If you think about what it can do, pick comp, Varus, Malzahar, Jarvan is about as reliable pick as you could ever want onto one member, right? So single target deletion. The 4-1 comp, because Jisu will be going on hit build, push in the top lane, Ornn gritting and bearing it, trying not to lose objectives, but wanting to teleport away and throw out the Ornn horn. So in the 4-1, Malzahar and Varus have a lot of poke and very strong siege as well. Even when the minion wave goes out, you spam your spells, you put down some voidlings, get a couple more autos as the Varus. So I actually like that we can pivot between two different identities on the side of ES Sharks. And team fighting, while it's not their modus operandum, it'll be decent. So I think it's a pretty flexible draft that if Jisu gets going, they can just split push them away. So 4-1, definitely the identity on the side of ES Sharks.
Does look like it. See GuGer returning to the Tahm Kench. I believe Tahm Kench had some ridiculous win ratio in the LCK. Was upwards of 60 to 65, so still going strong, the Sir Thomas Kench. As we do take a look at the other side here, Vladimir straight into the mid lane, not something you see all the time, but looking to do that team fighting craziness.
And the lanes will be a bit of a struggle, so while team fighting is always the light at the end of the tunnel, they haven't got the traditional winning lanes around champions like Lucian to necessarily make those team fights a formality. So VSG need a good start to actually get to the team fights.
So here we go. Game 1 of the losers match starts now.
I think we might have to do some cheering today, Valdez.
we got to help him out, you know.
Whoa, Malzahar's top lane. Or is he?
How can they know?
You know, I'm a bit disappointed from competitive Nico games that I've seen, because I've been watching your Masters, there's been a couple of Nicos there. In my solo queue games, I'm seeing more Nico than I'm used to recently. No one ever uses the passive, so I'm happy to see at least a nominal use of the passive. Now, of course, especially in pro play with wards out there, it's hard to get a lot of value from the passive. But at level 1, why not disguise yourself as the jungler and at least try to pretend that the pathing might be different? Anyone who doesn't use the passive, shame on you. That's all I'm going to say.
But it's so hard to click the button, Papa Smithy.
Look.
How do I do it in my silver game?
I saw you play Kindred. It's the same mechanic. Press a button.
That's true. Why are there not hotkeys for that? Maybe there are, and I actually just haven't checked them out. It's a little bit hard to check them out when everything's in command, too. But starting queue here. You're getting in there, doing some poke already.
Yeah, no one got to the wave first. There was no big pushing advantage, taking W at level 1. So like you say, Q is taken here. This should be a very, very comfortable lane for Varus Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench is there to mean that the binding from the Morgana is pretty much irrelevant, and the Varus outtrades Lucian to the range advantage. Here is Jisu, and actually, look at this. It's looking much less likely to be the on-hit build from Jisu. Started Doran's Ring. I was mostly looking at the top and seeing the Keystone, so we thought on-hit build, maybe because Orin is probably the most reliable of the current tank meta on 9.6 to stand up to something like the on-hit Nico. We might see a movement away from Cube, and actually a movement to what we saw from Broken Blade, from TSM, and a kind of confirmation that it'll still have some semblance of 4-1, but I look at this and say, maybe it's just really a poke pick comp only, because the pick CC when you group with Nico and the poke on the turrets is still there on the pick.
It's definitely a nice idea to play into kind of the composition that they're going for. We're going to get the whole library of runes down here, down on the bottom side. Anything really strike your eye as different outside of the Nico?
I think Overgrowth has become much more taken on tank top lane players after the latest buff. I think that might actually be in a future patch, but it's probably just what people are used to playing on the live service. It's the extra bonus maximum health I'm seeing a lot more in the Resolve tree. Otherwise, you know, it's a lot of free-ass boots. That's pretty much the meta right now.
How about the Conqueror on Jarvan? See a lot of Electrocute to try to go for the burst, but sometimes you do see the Conqueror coming out, such as today.
Well, you know, LS, for example, has a lot of words about things like Scorch, and I think Electrocute's kind of in the same school of thought for rune choices. So it's one of those things where Conqueror got nerfed a couple of times. It's definitely not the, like, auto-locker on Rek'Sai and win the game rune, but we're seeing a return on Rek'Sai over things like Hail of Blades that are popular in other regions. I know Ender is very strong on that particular one. I think Conqueror is just unique when you take it with things like Ravenous Hunter, in that you actually end up brawling for way longer than you might expect, and you don't do the burst, but you end up getting those extra autos off that end up maybe doing more damage over time. So I think it's kind of just a individual tilt kind of thing, like whatever you prefer, rather than necessarily there being a very obvious correct choice.
And Ryan making his second visit up towards the top side. See what he can do here, looking for the knock-up. Does get the invisibility out of Jisu at least, but nothing else as he's been hanging around this top side.
We haven't been seeing AP Nico, then it's Q-Max rather than the W-Max that we saw from Cuvée. And much less about the auto attacks, much more about potential wave clear. If you even injure the wave, get a couple of autos in, the Q can burst a couple of times. That, I believe, blooming burst is the Q, get a lot going. Kuzan walking up, level 5 though, remember.
Kuzan doing a lot of tick damage here to Ruby, who's trying to get that health back as the smite does go the way of Patch, it looks like. Nice knock-up on a 2 now, but they're looking to get on top of Kuzan, not quite able to. Knock-up comes on a Catch, who does have to flash away, but now ES Sharks looking to potentially turn this one around as SoaR just says, F it, I'm getting out of here.
Well, ES Sharks are being super bold around taking this scuttle on the top side. The reason I say that is Malzahar doesn't roll very well pre-level 6, and in general, the 2v2, you take Rek'Sai over basically both champions on ES Sharks at every moment. Vladimir also not particularly strong at the brawl, but that just amplifies how strong Rek'Sai is there. They get in, they get out, but there is a pretty significant summoner spell cost with Kuzan and Catch both having to blow their flash.
Definitely kind of an awkward one. They only get they do get the 2 flashes there at SoaR and Ryan,
That's true.
so not super bad, but at the end of the day, the scuttle fights always do happen, and nicely done by Catch to get that small advantage, and good work by his team.
And there's always, in every lane, in every game, kind of flashes that are super high value to blow and flashes that aren't as high value. And Kuzan and Catch not having flash means that flash R plays in mid lane can't happen. So actually Vladimir is like, sweet, I get, you know, another 5 minutes of farming, and there's always better times for a Vladimir. As we've come to know from top lane Vladimir, same story with mid lane Vladimir. Catch not moving, he doesn't know he's here!
So cute, and now he's gonna get the knock-up on Orion, who again does not have his flash. Here comes
it's
Thomas
so
Catch.
good!
See you later, what a play! First blood goes to Catch, very deservedly makes that play happen.
Catch is a monster, I love it so much! If they hadn't have got the kill because of the lack of flash on mid lane, I would have lost my mind. That is the 200 IQ play. This is what we needed to start the day, Valdez.
This is good. He's not a loser for sure. He's like, get me out of this match. I don't belong.
So guys, he was burrowed, so remember you have limited vision and only see enemies moving. He hadn't aggroed the camp and he wasn't moving, so literally Rek'Sai was blind to the Jarvan 50 units in front of him.
It's a bit of a jump scare too.
It's so good! He was spotted on the ward in the river.
Yeah. He sees him after he starts the Raptors, and of course, no way to get out of this one.
This is the ES Sharks I wanted to see. The ES Sharks with the cool top lane picks that do a little bit differently, but also can just be a bit smarter than the other teams in Challenger at least, and what an awesome play.
Feels good.
I'm hyped.
I'm glad we got to witness that.
It's probably the best thing we've seen in 8 games in this promotion tournament.
That is something you can say with 100% certainty, as there hasn't been too many highlights, but we'll definitely be replaying that one.
I mean, if you're a Zoe fan, that was the solo kill.
Sure. We've all seen that one before, though. That was kind of a
And yet not
clone.
Recently, you know? Like, we were very taken off guard by how much damage. That was 850 damage, like level 5 or 6. So, yeah, I didn't see that one coming.
Just brought me back to, I forget which game it was, maybe a different region, actually, where Zoe burst in Ezreal, and somebody in the Reddit thread actually did all of the math of, like, okay, he's got the extra magic pen from the rune after the dash, and the proto belt, and then added all the numbers up, and he's like, yeah, this is actually possible with current Zoe. And Zoe did take some hits since then, but apparently he's still able to do it against some certain champions with some items.
So what percentage of people who read that either kind of half read it and confirmed their already hatred for the Zoe compared to the percentage of people that checked the math? Would you say it was 99.999% to 0.0001%?
I mean, I was in the 0.001% then. It was pretty interesting to me to add up all the numbers and say, hey, yeah, she's kind of too strong. But apparently now we have fixed Zoe. And for you guys who have been watching Korea for a while, I mean, she hasn't really even been played all that often in LCK for quite a while.
It hasn't been winning, even though it was still a perennial early pick. Like you watch, you know, TSM games and Bjergsen and TL were highly prioritizing it. In Korea, it did fall away, but BD reminded us of Zoe's past. We've seen a lot happening around the map. Chains of Corruption doesn't get anything on the bot side, though.
Nice little Infernal sneak there by Ryan. Picks it up right as Catch is coming in under the nose of the ES Sharks. So first Dragon, and a good one, is going to go the way of VSG.
And like you say, the sneak is also relevant in terms of the priority lanes around it's happening, given that mid lane, you know, Kuzan has the only kill involvement. Bot lane was the counter pick here with the Varus Time Catch, just taking an Infernal, a high value Drake in this spot. is against the run of play. So shout out to Ryan. Usually known for his aggressive plays, but in this case, just being bold rather than being aggressive.
I feel like GuGer's having a fun Tom Kent's game. This bottom lane has been kind of lacking action. And even so, you can see already that Light and GuGer have been winning the lane in terms of the CS, and he's just been flicking that tongue, doing Tom Kent's things. Speaking of which, trying to get on top of Ruby here. They are going to force that flash away from the Vladimir, and still the flash going to come in here from the Malzahar as following up with the flash here is Cats, but not sure they're going to be able to lock this down. Nice dodge, and now the flash over by Ryan is going to punish them both as he gets a double kill in the mid lane.
That was a real overinvestment by Kuzan. He doesn't have Ignite. There was no way he was going to one rotation Ruby there. Ruby was able to just pull away just fine. Exhaust was a summoner spell he had. That was another sign of ES Sharks trying to find a big play. Speaking of big plays.
Nice stopwatch here. Is the damage there? Pop Blossom coming out, and even a flash to get Jisu to safety, but nice amount taken away despite the Ornn versus Nico matchup. And with that play in the mid lane, now VSG going to say thank you very much. We'll take the Rift Herald for free.
Yeah, you lose so much from losing 2 members in mid lane when objectives are still up. They try to make an Abyssal Voyage play bot lane, but easy for Veritas just glide away. These are the unforced errors we saw from ES Sharks quite a lot in their series a couple of days ago. The initial play is perfect from Catch. He swaps his R for the enemy flash. Great. Awesome play. Notice Ruby has not used his pull yet, and then you go in on over 1,000 health Vladimir as no item Malzahar. It's just so much used to try to get the kill. Even if the Q hits, watching on, I think he lives on about 20 health. It might be overkill by 1 damage, but you can see the VSG coaching staff are stoked because out of nowhere, they were kind of gift wrapped 2 kills.
Yeah, follow me, got the kill, and let's go to Herald is basically what he's saying. And lots of talking coming out from Ryan as he is able to get there in time to punish them both, but it was really close. I'll give them that, as you were mentioning. The Proto Belt actually helped dodge the Jarvan engage, which would have been a lot of extra damage. So, like the chance, but definitely greedy is the word I would say. You don't have to do that after you just had a nice engage. You still have the pressure in the mid lane. So, certainly trying to push it a little bit too far. That's not what the ES Sharks need right now.
Especially because they have a really nice draft that we think scales pretty well. We were already mentioning how VSG had pretty limited win conditions of, all right, losing lanes, but hopefully team fights later. So that's already a lot of conditionals that most teams don't get to. So given that, going so eager, feel like you have to pull the trigger. There's other games where you look at the comps and like, okay, try something, otherwise it's going to be a bad time. This was not one of those games, so very surprising to see. It's not a game loser just yet, but it continues our kind of question marks about where ES Sharks is at when it comes to this promotion tournament.
Not looking as clean as they did in Challengers, that's for sure. I wonder if it's just the pressure getting to them, maybe the new stage, all this kind of extra stuff. But if they want to prove that they deserve to be in, they got to win tonight, and then
it's also bouncing back. They must feel like they have to bounce back. They know that a lot of people walked away thinking very little of their team from their play a couple of days ago. So with that pressure, speaking of pressure, top side, Jisu, remember, doesn't have flash.
No flash. GLP comes in, but look at that long-range ultimate. Pop Blossom gonna lock him down, though. One auto from the turret would have done it, but he gets out of range. And SoaR is gonna live as well. They get the kill, and now the push will come in from the Herald.
They needed to hit the Q, though. It was close. Remember, with AP Nico, the shield on the Pop Blossom way bigger. Oh, it's not enough damage to pick up a kill. Kuzan and Catch using that pressure bot side. Notice Mountain Drake has spawned, but Rift Herald is jammed up top.
Rift Herald on the push, going to make that happen up in the top side.
SoaR is setting up for a TP if the Drake is started. That's why he recalled. He would not have the ultimate. Gonna walk down for now. ESS do start up the Mountain Drake.
Hey, if you're VSG, just based on your positioning, you don't try to force a fight here. From behind, Mountain Drake a lot harder to use to say, okay, give this one over to them. We already got a nice lead now, 1,500 gold. ahead in the pockets of VSG. As the next streak as well going to be Infernal, so we'll have to see who can lock that down.
Around that point, VSG with the extra gold of picking up some kills will be more teamfight ready than we might expect, but still, you'll notice, have had to make some concessions. For example, Vladimir had to go for a QSS. Vladimir is probably one of the least likely champions to take QSS in a game, because not often do you get the mid lane Vladimir who has to buy it for laning phase, because the laning phase has to go QSS. He's going to get the replay of top side and see the fact that AP Nico's shield is way bigger than you might expect. If you notice here, it's about 300 health, but Rek'Sai already in brawling range. SoaR able to pick up the kill. There was no more turret shots to spare for either of them, so that was closer than you might expect. But the teamfight items are not there yet for VSG. However, the experience and just the overall level of gold means they might be more competitive in 4 minutes than ES Sharks might be ready for.
Certainly is true. Love the item choice here from SoaR too. Going to be really fantastic against a lot of the AP that is coming out of Nico and Malzahar that have adaptive health. So great first item choice, and he still has his TP with Unsealed Spellbook. So we do know that if any fights do break out along this next Drake or any other objective, he'll be ready, and he'll be super tanky for this next fight.
Now, not as tanky as what we are all experiencing in the solo queue ladder, I'm sure. It's by 9.8, 2 patches later than this game. A lot of direct and indirect buffs to Auron over time, but as you say, he's still Auron and is engaged. It's going to be pretty good against a team that is kind of running out of time to be a pick comp. Yes, it can be simulated around things like Baron or high roll Drakes, but it might just end up being much more of a siege draft, playing under turrets for this AP Nico comp on ES Sharks, and best way to stop a siege is with hard engage.
VSG coming in with their lead. That binding is going to go wide, but Catch actually able to pick up that red buff, so nicely done by him to just sneak that one away without being hurt or getting his teammates in trouble. It's just that minor objective. VSG probably wouldn't have been too afraid of a fight there, but I like that ES Sharks just wait and back off, but still get the buff.
In case you're wondering, I'm pretty sure there is no upgrade on the adaptive helm for Auron, so Auron will usually just kind of pilot his way towards Catalyst, Sunfire Cape, Abyssal Mask, or just Russian Abyssal Mask against double AP. This is much more the value, like you were talking about, Valdez, on specifically the interaction of the damage reduction on magic damage against Nico and Malzahar, rather than getting the free upgrade. So it is going to be a cost come level 13, but right now, he's ultra tank.
Doesn't even need his teleport to move down to the mid lane and look for an opportunity here, looking for Kuzan, who does flash away. Pretty simply, their catch was nearby, but they don't even bother trying to set up a fight under the turret.
Ruby gives kind of no mundos about the Malzahar this game. He had to use Flash earlier. Now he has QSS and the Flash is down a second time. They've been pretty on point with denying Kuzan any pressure onto Vlad, and at some point, Vlad's going to hit 4 items, run at the enemy. May not be the same 4 items that we see from top laners, but it'll be pretty similar, and the threat will be there. So the outscale potential of Malzahar, chances have gone from maybe to almost certainly, and if this was a weather report, you'd bring your umbrella.
It's raining blood, that's for sure, as Ruby is going to be scaling on up. You did mention the QSS is going to be annoying. Just QSS is out of this one. Nice amount of poke damage coming out from Kuzan here. Even Light trying to get in there, but the rotation comes up from ES Sharks, as now they're looking to pressure on the mid lane turret.
They desperately want it on this minion wave. They brought 5.
There, Hemoblade goes down just to try to push them away, but still Light is able to do a nice amount of poke damage. And you'll notice that this is right before the Infernal, right before any other objective, so I like the timing for them to try to snatch that mid lane turret.
It's an awkward duality though, Valdez, because they actually have to recall and not contest vision around that Infernal because they couldn't get the turret. If the turret goes down, then the fact that Jisu's around half health doesn't matter. Now that it's loading up for a team fight, they actually have to back away completely. So the Hemoplague just stopped a 5-man rotation and got a full recall from ES Sharks. Crazy value for just a Hemoplague.
Oh yeah, for sure. may have it if they do delay this another 30, 40 seconds, but you can see that Jisu coming on down as well. They're really looking to pressure onto this one as here comes another Ornn ultimate. This one gonna knock them both up into the double knockup. That's gonna make it 2 super easily and clean by the side of SoaR and his Ornn.
It's a tale of 2 cooldowns. The first call of the Forge God, Flash is gone. Second call of the Forge God, double kill. Huge value from Ornn. I'm someone who's definitely on the Ornn hype train for the MSI meta. What about just today? Because SoaR is putting in a huge stint on this Ornn, and suddenly the teamfight comp's going to get an Infernal.
And it's not going to be their first one either. It's going to be their second one as VSG are just sailing into this mid and late game. They're going to get this one. Can he steal it? Yes, he can!
Whoa!
What is going on? Light showing the light to his team as he keeps their hopes alive.
Ryan, man, you had to smite. Doesn't smite it. Don't get it. Oh, boy, that's awkward here. It's a lifeline for ES Sharks. Yes, teamfight-wise, they might be outcomed. But that's extra poke damage with Infernal. This was just the ram you were looking for. Look at this Ornn play. Could you be any cleaner?
I mean, that's the dream engage, right? Doesn't get better than that unless there's more people. But 2 is enough. You're essentially doing a job by yourself against 2 people, and that's what opened that up. But it's just really unfortunate now that they're going to take a huge blow to their stats as well as their morale as the Infernal Drake just flies away for free.
Man, I'm still in love with the Ornn player. They're so clean. And SoaR was a player that really impressed us on Team Battle Comics. A lot of people will say, who the hell is Team Battle Comics? They were, of course, Sandbox Gaming before they renamed in Spring Split. SoaR looked like their best player in the promotion series and then for whatever reason chose to remain in Challengers. Went over to GC Busan, played in Kesper Cup, and now he's back on VSG, and he hasn't started every game, but he and Ryan are the players we remember from GC Busan's Kesper Cup run, and Sandbox Gaming was, again, SoaR's team that really helped them promote, so cool to see him on these tank champions that he's most well known for, putting in a great stint.
Flash is going to be available for Kuzan soon and for everybody on the side of the ES Sharks. So SoaR's going to have to put down another 2 Ornn horns if he wants to make that play happen again. It's them, of course, still in the lead, but we'll see what ES Sharks can do from here.
And he's such a team player that he doesn't have one completed item that can be upgraded. How sad. You almost never see a level 13 Ornn with neither of the items. No Iceborne Gauntlet, no Sunfire Cape, no Abyssal Mask. He's gone for Frozen Heart and Adaptive Helm. He's got a hell of a lot of cooldown reduction, that's for sure. And you know what? If he gets the ram onto multiple people and then knocks multiple people up, he's going to be in aura range, and they definitely win the team fight every time.
Especially if that Varus is just hitting onto him, he's not going to be doing nearly as much damage as Ruby with that Proto Belt's going to make it very easy to take out the Malzahar spell shield. Looking pretty good.
So I think Blade the Ruin King, Black Cleaver, and Redemption can be upgraded from him. I think those are the 3 that he can upgrade. He can upgrade someone if he finds an ally, but right now it's enemies he's found.
And see the Exhaust and the Frozen Heart. He takes so long to die, but he is absolutely going to die as Catch interrupted that teleport. I'm thinking he should have let it complete because there were 4 people in the top lane that may have been able to kill Ruby as well.
Yeah, I kind of take your side of the coin there, Valdez. It's just another full map rotation. ES Sharks want to play 1 lanes, as we mentioned. They missed their pick timing, so they're just a siege comp. Meanwhile,
what is going on?
Catch stun.
Catch, okay. He's going to try to get away from this one as well. The Q should be up in a bit, but he's not as fast. So Ruby is going to be able to easily take him out as not sure why he went in a second time. The first time was like, okay, you know, instincts, you want to interrupt that TP. Second one, that's going to be a no for me, dog.
The observers did us a solid and hovered over the very amusing extended death animation of Jarvan.
Yeah.
Where he just crawls for like an hour. If you ever see Jarvan fall in one of your games, just actually put your eyes on the death animation. Usually you ignore those things. It's comically over the top. And sadly, Catch just was too far up, you know. At the end of the day, that was just silly from him. And it's another freebie to a champion who should never get freebies. The Vladimir is always a win condition in and of himself. And this Vladimir's got a bounty.
take another look at how this happens, the Abyssal Voyage, and you're like, okay, SoaR's almost definitely going to die. But then the TP comes in, and then they interrupt it. But I'm not sure if that's the right way to go, as Pop Blossom was going to lock down Vladimir.
It's one of those things where if you have full information, you never make that play, right? Because you're like, oh, a second kill. But instead, Catch is just doing the autopilot thing of, if you see a teleport, you're like, I'm going to interrupt that. It's almost never wrong to interrupt a teleport, but with full information, map hacks on, and full communication, which remember, they should have the communication, then you don't make that interrupt. So it ended up looking really, really bad because he died, but you definitely understand the simple reason of why.
Yeah, for sure. And we did just have the Horn come out, and Light had to blow his flash, thanks to the observers for pointing that one out. As now it's going to be a big cooldown. It does mean that GuGer, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to not get hit by the Horn and also save the life of his AD carry, which can be at times difficult. Ryan going for the solo here on the Infernal Drake as ES Sharks are just pushing on in. They're going to let that one go.
Okay, it just came on early, so that kind of in the 4th Infernal Drake. It was already on the board. So, whatever. Let's just go with 2 for VSG and 1 for ES Sharks. I'm pretty sure. Anyways, in the game,
going to be locking down the Morgana, who is going to flash away. Catch is going into that one. They're locking down the Rek'Sai in the mid lane, though. Ruby pretty low, but he's a Vladimir staying alive as they're trying to get on top of Light, and so is the top bench. But he's doing so much damage. He's just sitting there like his own turret, able to push back VSG. But it doesn't look like anyone else is going to die on the backside of so many low health bars.
Yeah, a lot of engage. Oh!
Okay.
Cost of Curse is real. Sniped down by Light. They pick up that counter kill. The setup there from VSG, they didn't have full vision, so a lot of people weren't able to min-max their damage. In the end, ends up being pretty even, all things considered. VSG have a level 16 Vladimir. They should be doing better. So you watch this replay and notice a lot of these rushes are not warded from VSG. And it's a face check to begin. It's a pure basically out of the fight instantly. From there, Vladimir comes in slowed. It's all pretty awkward. The exhaust is actually pretty decent time. The Tides of Blood is not max damage. Ruby probably should have died, fell to 100 health. So this was just VSG saying, we've got the better team fight, let's go. They didn't actually put all the pieces together to get the most out of what they picked.
Definitely an awkward fight when you look at it. It was kind of 2 things happening at the same time, and Rek'Sai running straight into a Malzahar and just kind of dying straight up. Nice follow-up there from Light, as he's kind of being the carry on the side of ES Sharks. He's got the best score line, but he's 3 level down on the carry of the side of VSG, who arguably scales a little bit better.
Well, the main problem is that Vladimir runs at a Varus. What's a boy to do? Because, of course, your chains of corruption aren't going to work. And the Ornhorn is the other big problem.
They get the knock-up here on a Tom Kent, who is able to get that Devour ahead of time. So
let's put it really simple, Valdez. The Ornhorn comes in, Devour is used, and then Vladimir comes, and there's nothing left. That's just the reality of
in a perfect team fight, but so far we haven't really been seeing very clean stuff other than that great warning engage from earlier.
See if he's going to find a way to subvert that, or if, like you mentioned, VSG makes some mistakes on the engage. They haven't found Vlad on the flank just yet because the game is being fought in a very open territory. Remember, it's ARAM, so the ARAM team, the Siege team, wants to play in the widest possible lane with control wards on both sides and poke. But the ARAM team hasn't taken the mid lane outer turret at 29 minutes. That is ultra frustrating for the team of ES Sharks. The moment they walk up, you know what tune we're going to hear about as.
Yeah, it's already happening. They're trying to lock down Ruby here, who has to go into the pool, but he's taken down as even Varus is going to get the kill. Oh boy, Ruby a little bit too presumptuous and bold there in the front side.
Ornn didn't have ult, so he positioned as if he was going to follow up on an Ornn ultimate, and there was no Call of the Forge Gods. There was no tune. And this siege, it took a long time, but they're finally going to get out of mid lane turret.
That's a big one, and keep in mind, this is Glacial Augment on the Nico, so she's really holding everybody accountable for their positioning as now Corruption comes in, and SoaR in a little bit of trouble. Nice knock up to interrupt the dash, as down he will go as well, and the charging train of the ES Sharks is going to stop there at the tier 2.
VSG, they had their options, they had everything set up, but they've really botched the execution and lost the maximum around mid lane. First Ruby, then SoaR. Position as if they have everything else, all their other ducks in a row. Those ducks are quacking, but not in the order they need to, and suddenly, both the mid lane turrets are down, and ES Sharks can put down pick wards, can force face checks, and if you don't get the ults in the row, as you were alluding to, if the Call of the Forge God and the Vladimir engage can't be coordinated, if it looks like this, as we see, coming in, silence, ulted, QSS not enough, because of course you're still taking plenty of damage. That dies, Ornn dies, no synergy between the two, and there's definitely team fights ES Sharks can win.
Kind of looked like he QSS'd a little bit late as well. The Black Shield came on after he got ulted. It was just not the cleanliness you're used to, I suppose, on this stage, as so far both of these teams struggling to impress.
Like the build from Kuzan. A lot of people think of Malzahar as hard countered by QSS, and I would agree for mid games. Flash actually drawn out, so much respect
Glacial
for
Augment.
And the E coming through from the Nico after that Glacial Augment. But I think Malzahar late game damage and control with this Liandry's burn build is really underrated. His R is, of course, the cherry on the top for the mid game, early game, but late game, the Q spam does so much damage. So for now, Kuzan's looking out, but here's the Call of the Forge God.
Pick and poke, but he's not going to be able to get that ultimate down, and Ruby's going to die immediately. And take a look at Light's positioning on the left side. Does so much damage and then gets devoured. Take a look at Veritas, though, still alive, trying to do that damage. Is going to flash on in, gets one, gets two. He's still alive in this one with the Black Shield. Trying to top down on GuGer. Is going to flash forward here as GuGer tries to get that kill, and he will, but eventually, at the end of the madness, VSG are going to take the fight.
I mean, look at the zoom in. There's bodies everywhere. It's an atrocity in the mid lane, but the only one living is Ryan. It looked like this was the fight that ES Sharks was going to outplay when there was no connection on the Call of the Forge God. I assume this was a silence. Let's see actually how he was interrupted. Maybe, let's watch how it happens. The first one that comes in, it's a chain of corruption. Really well done by Light to interrupt the team fight out, because then Ruby once again can be turned on and taken down instantly, and your mind just says, oh wait, Vlad and Ornn are dead. How can VSG win? But Veritas' Lucian is a pick we talked about. He's so opportunistic, dives in the back, assassinates one, and only the battle GuGer on the Tom Kent stops him from popping up. Overall, this is a 5-for-4. Ryan comes out the only one living.
And he picks up that Mountain Drake too. It just opens up the possibilities after 30 minutes here for VSG. Now even in gold essentially to go for their own try at a big objective, as Catch once again, he's got to be real careful. He's going to avoid that binding for now.
Shout out to Veritas. Really, really impressive team fight in there. He's got plenty of ability to skate around. He's got that Essence Reaver. Also, so the cooldown reduction, the critical strike, it's all coming together. It's not old, sadly, so no, we actually saw that once, right, in the LCK. We saw Spear Shojin for the maximum skating. But still, critical strike. He's doing plenty of damage. Got the Blade of the Rune King as well. Another Call of the Forge God. This one registers.
That is going to knock up that Malzahar, and take a look at how he just disappears. The shield is going to save him, but the Nico's dead already. Nice devour, but the double knockup comes in, and it does not matter as Catch is all alone now. VSG probably just going to ignore him and go for that Baron after a very successful fight.
And that was just a max range Call of the Forge God on one member, but those are the team fights we alluded to. ES Sharks couldn't make it about the siege, and they're going to lose a lot. With this interrupting the back timers, I don't know if VSG can win, but they can certainly do a lot.
We got 25 seconds here. I think it's actually a decent chance. You notice that Pure was trying to interrupt the backs here for quite a while as the push continuing to come in.
Back now. It's looking like you're right.
10 seconds left. Nice Cataclysm into the knockup, trying to delay them, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough, as down will go Jarvan, and down will go the Nexus. VSG able to pick up game 1 of the series.
With 5 seconds to spare, finally the team fight goes as they selected, and the match ends even more promptly than we first suspected. VSG able to weather the storm. We mentioned the early game, they got those kills and you said, oh, that could be oh so costly. And then ES Sharks made some inspired moves and you thought, okay, maybe they can outplay what seems like a pretty big team fight lead for the VSG comp. But by the end, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth time's the charm. VSG take down game number one, but only game number one of what we were suspecting and what now may be confirmed could be a very long series.
It certainly does feel that way. Game number one going back and forth. Not really any one team in control for the majority of it, but VSG towards the end, obviously snatching control. Nice highlight plays from SoaR and Veritas. And then eventually just a couple of clean team fights, and that's all they needed. So it's a great way to start off this best of five. When everybody was talking about ES Sharks, the number one team from Challengers, they're trying to make a name for themselves.
And here's a hard question. We don't have MVP voting in this tournament. My MVP would probably be Ryan. I think he was actually really on the ball in this series, and his counter gank around the all-in from the Malzahar attempt on the Vlad got them a lot early. And then in general, he played the game very solidly. But I'd be interested to hear who your MVP is, because Veritas deserves a shout. SoaR had some highlights and then a couple of moments he'd want to have forget. So in the end, if you think back, it's kind of more of a team performance than we first suspected from VSG.
It would have to be either Ryan or SoaR. I think that's pretty obvious. You know, Veritas had the one moment, and Ruby was kind of like, you know, he did the most damage, but there were definitely a couple of head scratchers there in that game. So shout out to VSG for just straight up outplaying the Sharks and getting to that late game. And you were pointing at the crazy damage from the Malzahar. You were talking about that Leandri's build. Does do an insane amount towards the end, and it was still not enough to have them win.
In a different draft with more team fight, it burns down and you get kills. This was just burning, but unfortunately the kills, they went the way of VSG.
Yeah, so ES Sharks a little bit disappointed with that one, but we'll see how they do in the next one, as VSG getting off to a great start in this one. Just a 1-0 in this best of five to decide who is going to go up against GuGer. Can't wait to see who's going to continue on in this losers match, Papa Smithy.
It's going to be a fun one. Let's get to it. Give me a cool game 2 drop.